Today's film is based on disturbing true events that happened in Indonesia during the year 1998. At that time, massive protests had erupted across the country against the government. At first, people only wanted their voices to be heard, but very quickly the protests turned into violent riots filled with bloodshed and chaos. As the riots spread, criminals also began taking advantage of the situation. Looting, murders, and attacks on innocent girls became common everywhere. But among all these horrors, one mystery frightened people the most. Many individuals suddenly began disappearing without a trace. Countless reports and cases were filed regarding these incidents, but even today, many of them remain unsolved. These tragic events eventually became one of the darkest chapters in the country's history. Our story begins during this terrifying period, where we are introduced to two teachers named Janwar and Rahim. They were responsible for placing news reports about the city on the school notice board every day. One night, both of them are sitting together reading the newspaper when suddenly the door of the room opens by itself. Before they can understand what is happening, an invisible entity appears and attacks them. The two teachers desperately try to save themselves, but they are completely helpless against the creature. The entity brutally kills both of them in a horrifying manner. One of the teachers has his throat completely torn apart, creating a terrifying sight. After this shocking scene, the story shifts to a young hostel girl named Anissa. Late at night, she suddenly hears strange noises along with someone knocking on the door. When Anissa slowly goes near the door to check, she sees a terrifying figure standing outside. The sight frightens her so badly that she immediately shuts the door and starts trembling in fear. Her roommate and friend, Nurul, asks her what happened, but Anissa is too terrified to explain anything. Both of them somehow try to sleep again. The next morning, while going to school, Nurul once again asks Anissa what she saw the previous night. This time, Anissa quietly tells her the truth. She says that she saw a demon outside their room. Unfortunately, two boys named Satrio and Ali overhear their conversation nearby. Meanwhile, the atmosphere inside the school also feels strange and uncomfortable. Satrio and Ali notice that a different teacher is placing news on the notice board today. Confused, they ask Teacher Bug where the previous teachers are, but he avoids answering their questions and quickly leaves. The reason behind his behavior is horrifying. He already knows that the two teachers were murdered, but he cannot reveal the truth because it would create panic among all the students. As the riots outside continue becoming worse, Teacher Bug finally makes an announcement asking all students to immediately return to their dormitories because the situation outside the school is becoming dangerous. At the same time, Ali and his friend are standing outside the classroom smoking cigarettes when they notice all the students suddenly rushing back to their rooms. They immediately realize that something is seriously wrong because nothing like this has ever happened before. At that moment, Ali remembers what Anissa said about seeing a demon. He tells his friend that maybe Anissa was telling the truth. Maybe some evil spirit has truly entered the school. Still curious, both boys decide to speak with Anissa directly. Without wasting time, they ask her one simple question. "Did you really see a demon?" Anissa silently nods her head. Before they can continue the conversation, Teacher Ridwan suddenly arrives there. Smelling cigarettes on the boys, he changes the topic completely and orders everyone to return to their dormitories immediately. Even after leaving, Satrio cannot stop thinking about the strange events happening around them. He points out that teachers Rahim and Janwar have not been seen anywhere since morning. Ali tries to calm him down by saying that maybe the teachers simply went back home. But deep inside, even he feels that something terrible is happening. Later that night, Anissa sits alone inside her room when suddenly the window opens by itself. Frightened, she closes it and tries to sleep, but fear continues haunting her mind. That same night, she has another terrifying nightmare where she once again sees the horrifying decapitated entity. Terrified, Anissa runs away inside the dream and eventually reaches an old well. While hiding there, she suddenly hears footsteps nearby. Carefully looking out from the well, she sees a mysterious man burying several strange packets underground. At that moment, Anissa realizes that this may be connected to black magic. On the other side, another teacher enters the room, where the dead bodies of his two friends are lying. The sight completely breaks him emotionally, and he bursts into tears because he never imagined they would die in such a horrific way. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a dark ritual is taking place. A man practicing black magic bites a lizard with his mouth, pours its blood into a vessel, and begins performing a terrifying ritual. He then creates small figures resembling the two dead teachers and continues chanting mysterious spells. Slowly, the ritual brings the dead teachers back to life. Seeing the dead bodies suddenly move, Samir's friend becomes terrified and immediately closes his eyes in fear. Then, in a horrifying whisper, the corpses tell him, "It's all over now." When Samir slowly opens his eyes again, the bodies have completely disappeared. In reality, the black magician has transformed them into evil creatures known as pochangs. Through dark magic, he has summoned demonic spirits into their bodies. Now these undead creatures are freely wandering around and killing people inside the school. The moment Samir realizes the truth, he immediately tries to escape from the room. But suddenly, the door slams shut by itself. Before he can react, the two pochangs attack him and vomit burning blood directly onto his face. The blood is so hot that it severely burns his mouth and leaves him completely helpless. At the same time, Satrio and Anissa hear Samir screaming loudly. They rush toward the room to help him, only to find him lying there completely motionless. Unable to understand what happened, they carry Samir back to his quarters. There, Anissa tells everyone that she believes black magic is behind all these horrifying incidents. But nobody is willing to believe her words. As the situation becomes more dangerous, the staff finally decide to call a highly respected religious master for help. When the Ustad arrives and learns that the bodies of the two dead teachers are missing, he becomes furious. He scolds the staff and tells them that the bodies should have been buried immediately. Ridwan explains that because of the riots and police chaos outside, the funeral was delayed. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, the Ustad gathers everyone together for prayers. During the prayer session, one of the boys suddenly sees a terrifying pochang nearby. At first, he thinks it is only his imagination, but moments later, something even more disturbing happens. The teacher leading the prayers suddenly disappears without a trace. At this point, everyone realizes that the situation inside the school is far worse than they imagined. To keep the students safe, the junior teachers decide to make all the students sleep together inside one large hall so they can protect each other. Still desperate to understand the truth behind everything happening, Satrio and Ali secretly go to the head office during the night. There, they discover hidden newspapers containing horrifying reports about the riots happening across the city. The papers reveal massive protests, murders, and brutal massacres that had been hidden from the students all this time. Before the boys can read further, a teacher suddenly enters the office, forcing them to hide in fear. Meanwhile, back inside the hall, Anissa suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night. To her shock, the hall appears completely empty, and her friend Nurul is behaving strangely. Anissa slowly walks toward her and realizes that Nurul seems possessed. In a terrifying voice, Nurul whispers into her ear, "It's all over." Immediately after saying that, Nurul suddenly attacks Anissa and tries to kill her. But just before anything terrible happens, Anissa wakes up screaming and realizes it was only a nightmare. Nurul is completely normal, and everyone else is still sleeping around her. The next morning, Anissa goes alone to the bathroom when suddenly, the same headless entity that has been haunting her appears once again. This time, the spirit whispers something strange into her ear. It repeatedly tells her about a mysterious cottage and urges her to go there. Confused and frightened, Anissa decides to investigate the place herself. She slowly approaches the cottage and carefully peeks inside. At the same time, Ali and Satrio visit teacher Samir's room and discover that he is still unconscious. Looking at him, Satrio says he believes Samir is suffering from some kind of curse. Ali tries to dismiss the idea and says that maybe Samir is simply sick. But suddenly, Samir's body starts floating in the air by itself. Terrified by what they see, Ali immediately runs away in fear, finally accepting that some supernatural force truly exists inside Samir's body. Meanwhile, near the well, Anissa notices a strange packet lying on the ground. She picks it up and then sees Teacher Bagus secretly burying something nearby. At that moment, Anissa begins suspecting that Teacher Bagus may actually be behind all these horrifying events. Soon, Nurul arrives there, and Anissa reveals everything she saw. She tells Nurul that Teacher Bagus is practicing black magic inside the school grounds. Anissa even shows Nurul the strange packet she found near the well. The moment Nurul sees it, he becomes terrified, snatches it away from her, and throws it aside, urging her to leave immediately. But while they are walking away, Nurul suddenly starts screaming in pain. Blood begins pouring from his eyes, and he collapses to the ground in agony. Anissa becomes completely panicked after seeing his condition. She wants to call for help, but she also cannot leave him alone. Suddenly, while struggling in pain, Nurul runs toward the well and jumps inside it. Luckily, Anissa is close enough to grab him. She desperately holds onto him with both hands and tries to pull him back up. But something horrifying is happening beneath the water. It feels as if an unseen entity inside the well is dragging Nurul downward with unnatural force. No matter how hard Anissa tries, she cannot save him. Eventually, Nurul is pulled deep into the well and dies. After Nurul's tragic death, a serious argument breaks out between the principal and Ustad Bagus. The Ustad insists that all the students should immediately be sent back home before more innocent lives are lost. However, Ridwan believes the students can still stay inside the school. For everyone's safety, they decide to gather in one room and pray together again. But while the prayer is going on, several evil entities suddenly attack them. One by one, many students become possessed, and the whole room turns into complete chaos. Meanwhile, Ali and Suri decide to leave the school. When they go to Professor Samir's room to collect their belongings, they see Samir eating pieces of glass. His condition terrifies them, but Suri refuses to stay any longer. He takes the keys and prepares to leave. Anissa sees him going and tries to stop him. She warns him that if he leaves the school, he may be killed outside. But Suri is worried about his family, so even after Ali and Anissa try to stop him, he still leaves. Once outside, Suri sees people openly roaming the streets with weapons in their hands. He realizes they might kill him at any moment. To save himself, he hides among the dead bodies lying on the ground and pretends to be dead. Meanwhile, at Suri's house, someone knocks on the door. When his father opens it, he is suddenly attacked and killed. His dead body is then hanged inside his own house. On the other side, Anissa sits alone in sadness, thinking about her painful past. It is revealed that when Anissa was very young, her mother became pregnant again. Her family was extremely poor, and many times they did not even have enough food to eat. Because of this poverty, Anissa's father found a terrifying solution. He wanted to sacrifice the unborn child in Anissa's mother's womb. But Anissa's mother could not accept that. Instead of allowing her baby to be sacrificed, she offered her own life. She slit her throat and died instantly, saving her unborn child from that cruel fate. The next morning, Suri wakes up among many dead bodies and realizes that he has been taken to a hospital with the corpses. Since he was unconscious, they must have mistaken him for dead. The moment he regains consciousness, he immediately runs back home. When he reaches his house, his mother embraces him with relief. But when Suri asks about his father, his mother silently takes him to another room. There, Suri breaks down after seeing that his father is dead. He decides to perform his father's funeral, but his mother stops him. She explains that dangerous sorcerers are roaming outside. They are turning dead bodies into pochangs by summoning evil entities inside them and bringing them back to life. Since they cannot keep the body outside, Suri decides to bury his father in the backyard of their house. His mother agrees. After seeing the situation in the city, Suri tells his mother that he knows people are killing good magicians, but his father was not a magician. His mother then reveals the truth. She tells him that his father had special powers. He could sense evil entities, and whenever people were possessed, he helped them. Hearing this, Suri becomes even more heartbroken because he never knew this side of his father. After his father's burial, Suri's mother sends him back to school, saying it is the safest place for him. Suri wants to take her with him, but she refuses, saying someone must stay behind to take care of the house. Meanwhile, at school, Anissa is cooking when she suddenly sees the same severed head inside a pot. Terrified, she immediately closes it. When she looks up, she sees a possessed nurse standing in front of her. Without warning, the nurse slits her own throat right before Anissa's eyes, and blood splashes onto Anissa's face. Anissa cannot bear the sight and runs away in fear. She searches for the teachers everywhere, but she cannot find anyone. Finally, she finds one teacher hiding behind a curtain. But that teacher is also possessed. She is making strange movements and biting her own fingernails. Frightened, Anissa tries to escape, but the door suddenly closes by itself. The possessed teacher attacks her, ready to hurt her. Anissa pleads for her life, but instead of attacking Anissa, the teacher suddenly stabs herself in the head with a cutter and dies. After this terrifying incident, Anissa sits alone, completely shaken. Once again, the headless entity appears in front of her and tells her to check the cottage. Anissa goes to Teacher Bagus and tells him everything about the entity and the cottage. But Bagus refuses to check it, saying that opening the cottage would be illegal. The matter then reaches Principal Ridwan, but he also refuses to open the cottage. While they are still arguing, Suri arrives and joins Anissa. Together, they pressure the others to open the cottage. Finally, they break down the door and enter inside. There, they find several black magic items hidden inside. At that moment, they realize the truth. This cottage belongs to Bagus. All suspicion now falls on Bagus, but Bagus claims that he was only doing everything to protect the school. Still, no one believes him. The students capture him and tie him up. Now, everything is in the children's hands. They decide to check the principal's cottage as well. But while they are on their way, the spirit with the severed head suddenly appears in front of one of the girls. The spirit enters the girl's body and brutally kills her by pulling out her intestines. Seeing this, everyone realizes the truth. Bagus is not the real person behind the black magic. Someone else is still performing dark rituals inside the school. Ali and his friend quickly take the injured girl to Bagus for help. Meanwhile, Suri and Anissa reach another cottage. The door is locked, so Suri breaks it open and goes inside. But the moment Suri enters, the door closes by itself, leaving Anissa trapped outside. She tries desperately to open it, but the door will not move. Then Anissa sees the same severed head spirit standing outside Ridwan's cottage. At that moment, Anissa understands something important. This spirit has been guiding her all along, and it is not evil. Anissa quietly peeks into Ridwan's cottage and sees someone performing black magic inside. Shocked by this, she quickly tries to run and inform the others. But before she can escape, the power of the black magic pulls her back into the cottage and the door closes behind her. Meanwhile, the children finally free Bagus so he can heal Fadi, who is still alive. But before Bagus can do anything, the lights suddenly go out. And here, the movie reveals its biggest twist. The real person practicing black magic is none other than Principal Ridwan himself. Using his dark powers, Ridwan lifts Anissa into the air and hammers nails into her hands and feet. Anissa cries out in pain and starts praying for her life. Seeing her helpless condition, Ridwan laughs cruelly. He tells her that even great scholars and magicians have failed in front of him, so someone like her has no chance. He says she will soon be burned as part of his ritual. Ridwan then reveals his true plan. He is a powerful black magician, and he planned this entire massacre so he could offer countless sacrifices to the devil and invite that evil force into the world. While struggling, Anissa notices that Ridwan's black magic is connected to a clay pot inside the cottage. Every dark spell is being controlled through that pot. As Ridwan continues threatening Anissa, Suri manages to break free. He stands against Ridwan and begins fighting him. But Ridwan's powers are extremely strong. He controls many evil forces, and defeating him is not easy. Still, Suri refuses to give up, because he knows he must save Anissa and all their friends. Ridwan then becomes even more dangerous. He sends all the Pochongs to attack and kill the children. But at the same time, Bagus also begins chanting his own protective spells to save them. Meanwhile, Anissa and Suri continue fighting against Principal Ridwan. During the struggle, Anissa tells Suri to break the clay pot because that is the source of Ridwan's magic. Without wasting a second, Suri grabs the clay pot and throws it away. The moment it breaks, all the black magic stops. Every Pochong created by Ridwan collapses lifelessly to the ground, and the attack on the children finally ends. Their lives are saved. Ridwan's real plan was to keep all the students trapped inside the school, kill them one by one, and turn them into pochangs as a massive sacrifice. That is why he had been stopping the children from going home since the beginning. Once the spell is broken, Anissa and Suri escape from the cottage. A short while later, a huge ball of fire falls from the sky onto Ridwan's cottage. The cottage catches fire, and Ridwan burns to death inside. His evil actions finally come to an end, and the massacre stops. The next morning, Anissa sits with Suri and comforts him. She tells him that everything will be okay and that he should not fear the future. Anissa then says that she hopes something like this never happens again. Suri smiles sadly and leaves, knowing that he has lost so much in this tragedy, including his father, his teachers, and a close friend. After Suri leaves, Anissa once again sees the same spirit with the slit throat and bleeding neck. And here, the final truth is revealed. This spirit was never trying to harm Anissa. It had been protecting her from the beginning. The entity was actually Anissa's own mother, the woman who sacrificed her life years ago to save her child. Even after death, she stayed beside Anissa, guiding and protecting her through the darkness. Finally, before the film ends, we are reminded that this story is based on true events. With that haunting truth, the movie comes to an end.